Good evening and welcome to Living a Graceful Life. My name is Tracy Gelb, and I'm very excited this evening to have Lana Gelb on, who happens to be my mom. Good evening, Lana Gelb.
Good evening, Tracy Gelb.
So, this evening we are going to talk about essential oils, which is something very, very near and dear to our hearts, a big, huge, enormous part of our lives. We both use many, many oils every day, and we also use all kinds of different products from the particular oil company doTERRA that we use. So I'm going to, without further ado, have Lana Gelb take over, and I want to hear about how you discovered the oils and if you have a special story to share with us.
Well, I discovered the oils about 17 years ago, and from a friend in New Jersey. And it was quite a revelation for me. And I did know a little bit about oils, and I had dabbled in them a bit, but I certainly didn't know what I know today. And I'm not proclaiming to be an expert in any way. I'm just going to share with you, what I do, what Tracy does. Well, she'll share that with you, and why it's a very important part of our medicine cabinet. We use it as medicine to prevent and also to help us heal certain things. So when I was in New Jersey, I remember Justin Harrison, who's like a top dog in the company, uh, say something that really kind of uh, made me think. And the first thing was, he said, someone asked him, well, how do you start to share these oils with people? And I was really interested in that because I had never shared oils with people. And he said, the best way to do it is to have a story, an oil story. And I raised my hand and I said, I don't have an oil story. He says, you'll get one. So, pardon me, I remember that he said that, and it always stuck with me. And I do have one. I have many, actually, many stories, but the one I think that will be of interest to everyone is the one where I was diagnosed by my dermatologist about 7 years ago, something like that, 7, 8 years ago. So it took 10 years for me to have a story, a big story in any event, with squamous cell carcinoma. And there's three skin cancers. There's basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma. And squamous cell is sort of in the middle, if you will. And she looked at it and she said it's a squamous cell. But she said, I want to check and see and take a biopsy. And I said to her, well, after she took the biopsy, I said, I know a protocol for skin cancer, and it's using frankincense. And she said, what is that? And I said, it's an oil that is a biblical oil. It's been used for thousands of years, and it is a very potent it causes apoptosis, which means it kills cancer cells. And I had been researching it on PubMed, which is a definitive research platform, and they have literally hundreds of research studies showing that frankincense oil kills cancer cells. So I asked her, can I have 30 days? I just want 30 days to use this protocol. And she said, I'm not happy about it, but 30 days and you'll be here. And she said to her assistant, just make the appointment in 30 days. 30 days later, I came and I showed her my arm and she said, where is it? And it was gone. There was nothing there. And she couldn't find where it was. And I said, well, it's the frankincense. And she said, oh, the homeopathic thing that you're using. And I said, no, it's actually an essential oil. And I handed her 200 papers of PubMed studies. And she said, okay, I'll file this away. Needless to say, I got 5 more squamous cells over the next 2 years, which comes really from all the time that I was in the sun for many, many years. And I have very light skin. And so I did the same thing for those 5 squamous cells, and I used frankincense oil as well as a supplement called DDR Prime. And DDR Prime's DDR stands for damaged DNA repair. And it has frankincense, they're in gel caps, as well as wild orange and a couple of others that all do kill cancer cells. That's my
Oh,
story.
it's a good story. It definitely is. And I discovered the essential oils. My mom had started using them how many years ago?
About 17 years.
So I would say around that time she started talking to my sister and I about it. And she even did parties. She would do oil parties, which we would go to. She did one at our apartment, one at a bar that I was working at, trying to get my friends involved. My sister and I would take something called Lifelong Vitality, which is 3 supplements, just an amazing combination of supplements from doTERRA. And we loved some of the oils, so we would use them. We were not invested in our health at the time, unfortunately, but we certainly loved these. And now that I am so invested in my health, I use them for everything. I use them for my teeth. We use all the products, all of the doTERRA products. We don't have one product. I mean, everything we use is holistic and natural. There's no fragrances or anything. And I think that it's definitely from everything from serenity and lavender to go to sleep, to peppermint to wake up, to clove for our teeth, spearmint for our teeth. There's melaleuca for our skin, which is now going by tea tree, including supplements like DDR Prime. They have their own turmeric. They have I mean, it's endless. Something called adaptive, which we take to go to sleep, and I also use in times of needing just to kind of breathe and calm down. Jasmine. Rose oil we use for our eyes. It's excellent for our eyes. And we've both had, my mom more than me, had some slight, issues with eyes. So it's just magical. It's unbelievable. And when you start to learn about things that are not the traditional, and I never put down traditional medicine. It's just not something that I use for myself or my mom uses, but we understand that people do that. We find every way that we can to do this and to stay well, which so gratefully we have and we are. And even like a COVID protocol, we never got COVID, thank God, really. But lemon in our waters, things like that. Lemon is used in depression clinics. Grapefruit, orange, all of those things that help your immune system and your endocrine system. And it's just wonderful. Frankincense, obviously. And also, I was thinking today, which we hadn't really talked about, but talk a little bit about the oils of the Bible.
Well, frankincense is the main oil of the Bible, and myrrh is another one. They both are just high frequency oils, and what that means is that they have a frequency for health. When you are using products in your life, let's say a frankincense or a myrrh or a sandalwood, those, or a rose, like you said, which is the highest frequency in the world, then you have a better chance of being healthy than ill. As a contrast, people, for example, I'm going to bring up toxicity, which a lot of people don't want to hear about, but it's so important because it kills people. That's what people don't really understand. And I'm not just talking about mold, and I'm not just talking about toxicity like mercury poisoning or things like that. I'm talking about things like perfume or like fragrances on your body, like body creams or hairsprays or uh, anything you apply on your body, your skin is your largest organ, and you're not just breathing in through your nose, you're breathing in through your entire skin. So those oils are all high frequency oils that help your health as opposed to um, steal from your health. You know, I talk about healing and stealing, and healing. These are healing oils. They're ancient. They've been around for thousands of years. They were the first medicine. And in the Bible, if you go through it thoroughly, there are hundreds of references to different oils, and it's actually plants. People don't realize what the oil is, and if I may, I would like to explain a little bit about the
Sure.
oils. The oils are like the blood in a human being. It's like the life blood of the plant, and you get the oils in leaves, in flowers, in barks of trees, in different things that some of them are in the ground, that grow in the ground. So they're all nature's and God's healing tools that we need. Well, we have decided, we made the choice to get to know, and get to know intimately, because we use them as our uh, underarm deodorant, for example, as our laundry detergent, for example. All these things are toxic,
Shampoo,
like
conditioner.
shampoo, conditioner, all
Yep.
those things, toothpaste. I think you mentioned that.
Cleaning
Uh,
products, all our
cleaning.
cleaning, every cleaning product.
And at one stage in my career, I used to go into people's homes and go through and like just put everything aside and say, this is toxic, this is toxic, that's toxic. And it wasn't for money. I just did it for love, because I wanted to help people improve their life, improve their health. Without, our health is our wealth. It really is. And so I used to go do that, and then it just was like a, a dismal project for me. So I decided to give it up. But so that's what there's so many oils for so many different things. And the biblical oils are holy oils. They use them for anointing. They use them for all sorts of things. And actually, in the old days, women were the collectors of herbs and plants, and they were the medicine women, not
Mm.
men. Men had other duties to do. So the women used to go out gathering all these beautiful herbs and everything, and take care of the health of the family. And in the blue zones, which I talked about fairly recently on the show, uh, many of them use oils for their health as well.
I was thinking about the blue zones. I really was just right before you said that, because when you think about people that really live cognitively and physically way into their hundreds, they're not using Febreze and
No,
perfume. Talking
no.
of perfume, I know this very well now, as we don't use any. It affects our brain and can affect different things. So I want to hear about oils that, instead of wearing perfumes, the oils that actually help our brain.
So I use citronella. Now, I know that sounds really weird, but citronella is an oil that helps calcium signaling in the brain. And what that does is it helps counteract oxidation of the cells. And it's an anti what do you call it? Like a radical, not a radical. What do you call it? I'll think of the word. But it's something that we need. We need to eradicate oxidation, antioxidant. That's what I was looking
Okay.
for. It's an antioxidant. So when I do a presentation like this or any of my presentations, I take my citronella oil, and it actually smells lovely, and it's a deterrent, as you know, as opposed to a killer for insects. And I put a little bit on each fingertip, and I put my right hand to my left temple, my left hand to my right temple, and I want to balance my brain and keep my focus when I'm doing a presentation like this. I don't want to drift off into Never Never Land, because I can do that very easily. So that's one of them. I love a combination in a diffuser. Now that's another thing. You can, I work with doTERRA oils. That's the company I support. That's the company I've worked with for a long time and that I trust. I really just don't trust any other company. That's just my nature. I'm loyal to it and I love their products. We do know that 98% of the oils on the market, 98%, this has been proven, or have pesticides and fillers and all kinds of things. And even on Amazon, they have said that people who sell sometimes have been sold doTERRA products, for example, get a bottle, and these bottles have a label, and then they open the bottle and they put one drop of doTERRA oil in there, and then they fill it up with pesticides and fillers and whatever garbage they put in there that's liquid. They seal it up and they sell it on Amazon and on other platforms, and they're allowed to because it's got one drop of therapeutic grade essential oil, so the FDA doesn't bug them. So that's pretty scary, you know, so I know what I'm getting there. I love to use peppermint and eucalyptus as a coupling in the diffuser. So now you can apply it topically, you can smell it. Just by itself, you can smell it, or you can use a diffuser. I don't have one going now, but here is a diffuser. It just went out. And the third is you can ingest. You can actually drink it. And the doTERRA oils are the only oils in the world that every single oil you can actually ingest. Now, I'm not in any way recommending that you do that, because some of them are just awful to ingest and you don't want to, like wintergreen or like deep blue, which is all for pain and stuff like that. You don't want to do that. But the fact that you can, and that on the bottle, it tells you can. And then you look at any oils, even in the best so-called health food stores and so on, you're going to find that they say apply topically. They won't even, you know, they don't even want you to smell some of them. And they smell foul anyway. Many of them are awful smelling. So these are beautiful smelling. So that's the three ways we apply it. And I do all three, and so does Tracy. We're constantly applying, smelling, and getting some form of essential oils in our bodies and in our brains. The other one that I really enjoy as a coupling in a diffuser is juniper, berry, and cypress. It's for focus, it's for attention, it's for concentration. So is the peppermint and eucalyptus. In fact, peppermint has been shown in the studies with children that it increases cognition in every test that they've done. And they just smell it. That's it. They smell it, and then they start to write their tests and they compare the groups. And there's some fairly reliable data on that in terms of children, but also sports people. Peppermint has been found to be a sports enhancer. So if you're working out or you're going for a walk or you're going to do some kind of activity, have a sniff of peppermint beforehand, or eucalyptus. They both are excellent in terms of the research regarding the brain and brain function. And I'm talking about focus, I'm talking about prevention of and dealing with brain fog. I'm talking about concentration and attention.
And I think also, I was thinking while you were talking, I use something very probably every day called Breathe.
Mm.
During this time that we've had with with the lungs being compromised and different things, I use Breathe in my diffuser, in our diffuser. I use it to take it with me to classes. Sometimes, there's a lot of perfume and people spraying things, and I just don't want that in my lungs. So I smell my Breathe right before my class and then right after. They have products, something called On Guard, which is anti-MRSA. You can take it on an airplane. There you go. They have the spray, it's a sanitizer. They have the mouthwash. They have the hand wash. They have the cleaning spray. That's all we use, and it's antiviral, antibacterial. The pain that I
Antimicrobial too.
microbial.
Yeah.
The only thing I use for pain is something called Deep Blue, or if we have like a little tension headache, something called Past Tense. And I've had my own little story. I have a bump on my shoulder. I've gotten a few throughout the time. They can come from sweating, or they can. And I did go to a dermatologist, and it was just a minor bump. They didn't do a biopsy or anything. It's just like a little fatty pad. And this is before I was into the oils like I am, before I lived with my mom, and they did a little minor taking it out, but I didn't like it. I didn't like how it felt. So I have one on my shoulder, and I asked a dear friend of ours who is like a essential oil guru, and she gave me a combination of 5 things, which I made into a roll-on, and I've been using it, and it was quite large. It's about half the size now, and I kind of measure it. And I'm going to be 100% frank, because I always am on the show. If I did it, I do it minimum once a day. I'm supposed to do it 4. So I know that I need to make a commitment. I get nervous because we have 2 little angel birds, and I worry about having oil on my hands when I'm feeding them because they are so tiny. But oils there are certain oils that you are allowed to use, you know, in a diffuser near your pets, near dogs, near cats. You
Lavender
just
mainly.
lavender mainly. So that was just something I wanted to add. And I wanted to talking of COVID. A lot of people have lost their smell, their ability to
Yeah,
smell.
I wanted
So
to talk about that before we go off. But
yeah,
I also want to tell you, you use Breathe. I use one called Lucia.
yes.
That's the one I use for my lungs. And of course, everything, your hip bone's related to your thigh bone. Everything is connected. So your respiratory system, which is you're breathing in, is not just, you breathe in through your nose. Hopefully, a lot of people breathe in through their mouth, which is not a great idea because the nose is meant for breathing in. Mouth
Mhm.
is meant for kissing and for food. So when we breathe in through the nose, we are getting our whole body. So it's not just the lungs, it's being absorbed through the skin, our biggest organ, and it goes to your brain. So the thing is, if your lungs are affected, my brother had a stroke, and he had basically he had these things in his lung that went into his brain, and everything is connected, and people don't realize that. So every time you get something and it's not addressed, and it's not addressed in a natural way particularly, then there's some potential problematical issues. But I would like to talk about this because this is something I discovered when I started working with Parkinson's disease, and that was 12 years ago, 12, 13 years ago, with people with Parkinson's. And that is that the one thing we know for a fact is that people do have loss of sense of smell, and oftentimes don't realize it. And oftentimes it can be very, very life-threatening and dangerous, because if you have a fire in your house and you don't smell it, or it's a burning stove, a pot on the stove, and you don't smell it, it's a problem. And it could be a major problem. So what I discovered when I did all my research on PubMed was that there's a place in Germany that has a smell, like a smelling laboratory, if you would. People come there. It's the only place in the world that people come there to help their sense of smell. And when the sense of smell, when it's gone completely, is called anosmia. When it's gone partially, is called hyposmia. There is no medication on the planet that can address that and that can reverse it. None. But guess what? Essential oils do and can. And I've had 4 people in Parkinson's that I worked with who had anosmia. They had no sense of smell, and for a certain amount of time, months at a time, and maybe even a year, one person, they didn't realize that they couldn't smell. And that was, one of them said to me at a class I was doing one day, I didn't realize, one of my Parkinson's people, I didn't realize I couldn't smell until I was at Thanksgiving. And my family kept saying, oh my gosh, just smell that turkey. Turkey is cooking and it smells so good. And she said, I couldn't smell anything. And I realized that I have this anosmia, and I helped reverse her anosmia with 4 oils that were recommended and are used in the protocol in Germany. And it's eucalyptus, rose, lemon, and clove. Now, the interesting thing is, I did an interview. Somebody interviewed me the other day on oils and wanted to know my story, and I started to tell them. And before I did the interview, I went on PubMed again just to refresh myself with that particular study, which I hadn't seen in a long time and hadn't, looked at. And it's been updated, and it was updated during COVID, when people had anosmia and hyposmia from COVID, and from long-term COVID in particular, but also from short-term COVID. And they did the exact same study with the same oils. It's in a smell stick, like a Vicks vapor rub kind of smell stick. They did it through the smell stick. And like Tracy says, the whole protocol of everything to do with the oils, the essential oils, and with doTERRA is 4 times a day. You have to do everything 4 times a day. I did that when I had my issue with the squamous cell carcinoma. And
So sorry to interrupt, but we have less than a minute left. So I know it.
They recovered. And the same thing happened. All the people who were 100% of the people who were in the study recovered and reversed the anosmia with the same protocol. So they're potent. They're very.
Yes, and we have many, 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 many stories of different miracles and wonderful things. It's something to check out. And I would check it out today, tomorrow, as soon as you can. I just want to thank you, Lana Gelb, for your knowledge and interesting information, and for being on the oil journey with me and starting my oil journey for me. I won't show everybody now, but we have, hundreds and hundreds in the house everywhere. And yes, we want to thank you so much and wish everybody a wonderful rest of their day.
Thank you, everyone.